You know, because intellectually I get it,
Mhm.
right? Intellectually I could understand that all is this, but there's some, I don't feel it in my body. It's not embodied.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, that's why we have this meeting tonight. That's the whole reason, if there's a reason, right? Well, I don't know. Let's get Eric in here.
Ha ha
I can't
ha.
handle these softballs.
Oh, I mean, whether you feel it or not, that's this too. It's irrelevant whether you feel separate to this.
Yeah.
Yeah, the point is there's all kinds of feeling. Feeling is part of everything that's arising. It's one of the things, feeling how I feel, and also all the things that seem to happen to me too. What about all that? It's all one thing, and it's not. It really doesn't affect you, Michael. Because you're the same no matter what goes on. You're this, you know, and that's it's not changing. It's not moving into some other, you know. The me thinks that the me feels like, you know, there's some good state that I could have and be in, and I could get that. I could get to that better state, you know. I can do things to move myself to that. But that's really not what's here. That's what appears. It can appear and does appear, right? Anyway.
If I could jump in, one of the things I kind of thought with that question is that typically when you feel like the me is there or reaching for something, and then you start to go with it, or, you know, well, I'm trying to reach something. But one of the things, and I sort of got this, Dan, from the video that you did, was sort of like, yeah, that's what's here, and just let it was nothing to do with it. So then it was this just at showing up as maybe striving or whatever it was, and it was just okay. Just it was not something that one had to do, or I had to do anything with it. It was just there, and it was like it just fit into everything. In that sense, it was fine, just as it was.
Right. And everything is, that's what everything is.
Yeah.
It fits. Everything is already fitting.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because very typically, I think, like, a response used to be, well, I need to do something about it. I'm striving, or the me story is there. But no, now it's there, like everything else. The dogs are barking, the frogs are croaking, and so on. And so once that happened, there's I'll call it almost like a relaxation into abiding into it's this showing up as that. And it was perfect at that point, because there was no sense of it shouldn't be there. If it was there, that's it too. And it was like, and so it was just perfect as it was.
No, it's great. And yeah, and you know, it might be a feeling of I feel that it shouldn't be there, you know.
And that's the thing. So if the feeling was there that it shouldn't be there, that's perfect.
Yeah,
it was perfectly just as it was. And so even that, so the striving, the seeking, it just stops. But even if the seeking is there, that's it too. And you see, so it's so inclusive, it all works just as it needs to be.
I think the video that was put out this week from with Nkosi and myself that Michael posted addressed this whole thing all the way through for an hour, almost an hour, about the very thing you're discussing. And it was really powerful just to listen to it again and again, just to see that everything is this, everything, my anger, everything. And there is a relief in knowing that this is all there is.
Yeah, nothing is excluded, as we say here. No, there's nothing that doesn't qualify, you know, to be this. It's already this. It's already qualified, whatever it is, whatever is showing up. So, there's a way of knowing that intellectually. Oh, now I've got it. I see everything is this, you know. And then there may still be showing up you know, a sense of energetically wanting something else to be different, or ideas about, you know, judging how it is right now, and a feeling of, you know, this isn't quite okay, and whatever. And it's just exactly this. It's just exactly what is wanted, what is needed, what it's not even, there's no words for it.
This notion of intellectually knowing it, but not being quite there, that's a typical game of the me. The me who thinks that it had to be somewhere else. It couldn't be just this. The me thinks it's way too simple. It couldn't be just this, because, you know, this is still not perfect, or the me is constantly looking. So this notion of intellectually knowing is a typical expression of the me.
Right.
Yeah, because as a me, Peter, I'm looking for a something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, something that is different from this. This isn't complete. The me is looking for the real thing.
Right, because I'm taking myself as a something. So a something obviously needs a something. What could a something do with a nothing?
Yeah, so you can say that that's one of the barriers that the me puts up, because of course that's what the me does. It puts up all these barriers, you know, apparently. That's the appearance of it. But it doesn't it doesn't matter what the me does, because the me isn't here. It really has nothing to do with any of this. There's just this, and there's nothing that that has anything to, there's no way to diminish that or stand in the way of it, or so it really doesn't matter what the me, how the me shows up. And yeah, the me will show up with all of its, you know, strategies of keeping our attention or staying alive or whatever. But the me doesn't have any power. Nothing has any power except what's already here. Which has the full and total power to be everything is already being, it's already full volume, full speed. There's nothing that can keep you from this, you know?
Well, there's nothing that can keep you from what you already are.
Exactly. And that's why there's nothing to do.
And yet doing's allowed. So seeking, there could be seeking, seemingly.
Yeah, apparent, can seem like and feel like they're seeking.
Right, but there can also not be.
Well,
I'm just saying. There can be a feeling of seeking, but that feeling can also be seen as just what's happening.
I think that by seeing it as just what's happening allows, in a sense, the me to be seen as just an appearance rather than as something that's actually there, because when it's perceived that it's actually, if you think it's actually there, then that struggle begins, rather than just noticing it's an appearance that shows up as if it was a me. And once it's sort of seen, once it's seen, and then the struggle ends. There's nothing to do. No need to do anything, and there's no one to do it.
And it's really not even so much that the me isn't actually there. It's that nothing is actually there.
Correct. Yeah.
And there isn't even any there. That's the whole thing. It's just this as it is.
Yeah. Even the nothing is not really there. Beyond all names.
Well, that's your unknowing.
It's like Santa Claus, you know? You still believe in Santa Claus? If Santa Claus walked in your front door, would you say, "Oh, it's you, Santa," or would you say, "Who the hell is that guy?"
So yeah, everything's just happening, but there's no one doing it. The closest analogy that I could come up with would be like your nighttime dream. Right? It's just your nighttime dream is just unfolding, however it's unfolding, and anything can happen. I mean, right? You could be flying somewhere, you could be doing anything in a dream, but
Yet there is somebody there that apparently is playing a role, like in the dream. There is an apparent me
Char-
that is experiencing something.
exactly, character.
A character, yes.
Right. So maybe this isn't that much different, this right here.
But how would you know? How would you know nobody's doing it?
That's a good question, Don. So let me ask you, this is for everybody. There's a strong feeling here that I've never gotten anywhere. Right? After 61 apparent years of whatever, a life, there's something here that doesn't feel like it's ever moved one iota.
Well, I would say that question, which is a good question, but it's a little bit of a trick, because the question is, how can I know that there's nobody here? And I mean, I would say you can't. I mean, I can't, because I can't know anything. And that's the whole point. There is no knowing, but it shows that there, there's this thing that we call the me, which is this idea that I know. So, and we can see that that is not true. There's no basis for this assumption that I know that I'm here, that I know there's a me, I know there's a world, I know, and then I know a whole bunch of stuff that's based, that comes from that. But that's what isn't known, and that can be noticed. I mean, that I would say it's obvious if it can become obvious that there is no knowing of anything, and then that gets rid of the whole question. Then because we see that the me, it's not a matter of is there a me or isn't there? It's a matter of seeing that the me was always just an idea of something known. Basically that I'm separate and I'm having a life and these things are going on to me, and the whole story of me. Well, the me is the one who knows all that and knows it's real and knows there's, I'm this thing here. So that's what there isn't. And it's not that you can know that there isn't, you just can't know anything. It's just sort of pulls the plug, or pulls the drain, and everything just drains out the bottom. So, to me, that's the answer to the question, but I don't know if that isn't clear, then we, could talk about it more. It always goes just back to what do I know, and what am I assuming that I know that's just a habit. And it isn't based on anything. None of my knowledge is based on anything real. It's just patterns and patterns just continuing. Well, that's why we say it's just showing up. So that, everything's showing up, but it's not real. It means it's all showing up. It is, appearing, but there's nothing underneath it that's solid, that's making it real. We just assume that it's real. And that's the feeling of the me. Creates a whole reality, a whole apparent life. But that's not here. And this is what we're trying to look at.
Would that be memory, Dan?
I'm sorry?
Would that appear to be memory? Pretty much everything bumps up against memory of the me, and then thoughts and
Sure, you could say it that way. That everything that I'm taking to know, including my sense of me, is a kind of memory. You could say that. And then, but as we could see with any memory, there's nothing to a memory. It doesn't exist. It's just some little blip, maybe. Yeah, but it turns into a real thing for the me. All of my memory, which is the same, it's just another word for knowledge, really. You could say it that way. And it becomes my God, I believe, my memory, my knowledge, my belief in what I am, my knowing that I am, this is all real. That's supreme. And I can't question it. So, but we do question it here. And that's, it's just stuff. It's just stuff, like whatever, smoke.
Wouldn't knowing imply duality the way I think about it? Because you'd have to have the knower and then the thing that is being known, or the thing that is being aware. That's kind of like being aware of your awareness. Hear that a lot. So
absolutely.
There can't be two.
Yeah, that's right. So it goes back to the question, is there duality? Is duality something real?
No.
A way to potentially look at it is that the knower and the known collapse into one. Rather than as two separate distinctions, it just comes together. And so it's just still one. So you could say knower and known, but it's really just, it's not separate.
Muji once said, a knife cannot cut itself.
Yeah, this doesn't know anything.
Not needed.
It thinks it knows everything. But it's all just a mind creation, which is not really real, in the real sense. It's just what comes out of it. And when you really understand that, then there's no sense in questioning, making all kinds of trying to understand it, because it just is, I think. And so then you can accept everything and nothing can bother you. It's very subtle.
There's just what's happening. So being annoyed is okay. Being frustrated is okay. There's nothing wrong with anything. Because all is this.
Yeah, there may be bothering. There's just nobody that is bothered by it.
That's the key. Thank you.
And even if it feels like, no, I'm bothered, I'm pissed.
You should let it go. It's not good for you to do that.
That's just what's happening. You know, it's like an actor committing to his role. You know, there's just a real conviction in that moment.
In that moment. But when that moment is gone, where'd it go?
Exactly, right? It doesn't mean it's real. An illusion screaming louder doesn't make it any less an illusion.
It's a hot potato.
So all is this, even what seems to be an exception.
What's an exception? I'm sorry.
The me. The me feels like an exception to all is this.
Well, maybe not. Doesn't have to be.
Well, actually, it does, really, because that's what the me is. The me is this feeling of an exception to all that is, and to this. So if I didn't feel like they're an exception, that me wouldn't be here. You know, I mean, there's, yeah, the me in the sense of separation, sense of a separate one.
True.
Yeah.
True. But I like to think you can just let it go. It doesn't have to be. You can just fucking let it go. Then it's gone. You don't have to think about it anymore.
I don't think just from my perception, you can't let it go because there's no you to let it go. And there's no need to let it go because it's just happening. It's an appearance, and that's just what there is. And just to see it as that, then what if it's there, it's there. And it's not even, it may show up as an exception where it feels like an exception, and that's this too. Then it relaxes because there's no, the letting go, if it lets go, it lets go. But there's nobody to let it go.
It never was there in the first place.
Yeah. And what's there is just what is showing up.
If you're quick enough, you can do it though. You got to be really quick. You got to be really alert, awake.
Well, I hate to burst your bubble, Roy, but there's already no one there to do anything.
I don't disagree.
So that word already, as you know, you guys have heard me say with Nkosi, already was just a stone cold killer. Already was heard here as there's already not a me there.
Which means
Even if it feels like it.
everything is already let go.
Yeah.
It just is. And then there's the idea of something else, which is, again, that's the story of the me. And that's already let go too. However hard the me tries to make its case for being real, there's never been a me anywhere or anything that isn't let go. That's the thing. I mean, freedom, everything is completely open and free. I mean, we could try to find words to say what it is, but it, you know, there's nothing contained at all. And no way to contain.
The way I see it is the me is just a contracted energy within the whole. And so it can't be any different than the whole. And therefore it is completely an illusion because it's just a tightening. But then when it loosens up, it never was there in the first place.
And
It's
even
like
when
the wave in the ocean.
yeah, and even when it's tight, it wasn't there in the first place. Because the tightening again is just an appearance. But
Yep.
what is, there's nothing to tighten. This is all created in as the appearance in the mind, or
Yep.
Yeah. Now it's hard to get that. You know, I mean, I just said, well, hard, okay. In the appearance, it's hard to get. It appears to be hard.
Of course, there is nothing to get.
Yeah. And no one to get it.
Of course, we all implied that.
Yeah, you still have your A+.
I'm working hard.
But that's the point, you know, and what Matt was just saying, is it not Matt? What's your name? Yeah, it is Matt. Sorry. Yeah, it's well, it's sort of like whack-a-mole, you know, the me keeps coming up with a new idea. Oh, it's contraction, or, you know, whatever. It always, but it's just a game. There isn't anything else. There isn't anything formed here. It's just all, you know, completely complete as it is, and it's completely undefinable and unsayable, and it's completely open, and I don't know, I use the word free, unbounded, you know, beyond, we don't have words, but, and then the mind keeps throwing up, yeah, but, or maybe, yeah, but there's not, there's no escape clause, you know, from just this. Just this says it all. There's nowhere to go from there.
There was a thought that while just listening, that right now sitting here, it just letting go into it seems relatively easy, or it comes easy. And then the thought was, how about taking it outside? And then the insight was, it doesn't really matter, because whatever appears outside appears. It's still the same. You know, there may be all kinds of things happening, and yet there's still nothing to be done, and it's still all this, no matter what appears.
Right. And inside
There is
and out,
nothing.
I was just going to say again, inside and outside, right? We can check it right now. Those are both concepts.
Well, I meant literally outside the front door here, running into people and stuff.
Right, but I mean literally, there's no inner or outer.
Yes.
So even though you say, okay, I'm outside, that's what I'm saying. You may notice you actually didn't really go anywhere, because there's something that doesn't change whether you go outside or inside. Wherever you go, there it is.
Well, the point
Yeah.
is, yeah, you're not going to find anything outside. You could go out the door, but yeah, there's nothing there that isn't here.
Well, totally.
Yeah.
What I
That's
was
the no
referring
escape.
to is like if nobody is pressing my buttons,
Yeah, no, I understand. I know that's the
things
mind.
are relatively smooth. And then, when I start interacting and the buttons get pressed, and I realize that that's just part of it as well, it's the same thing.
Right. The me tells a story that, okay, I'm doing this, but then 5 minutes from now, I'm going to be in a different situation. I'm going to be doing something else with different conditions. And that's just that we've just started telling a story, like the dream. But the dream doesn't change anything about anything. It just changes the dream. This is what we're trying to point to. And then the me just keeps saying, well, yeah, but what if the dream does this? Or what if, because the me is totally in the dream, in the reality of the dream.
Dan, let's take getting triggered, right? Because that's a big one. The me gets triggered and then it says, I shouldn't have gotten triggered. That's not very spiritual.
Exactly.
But there's only what happens. There's only what is. That idea of what's spiritual and what's not is completely made up. There's no such thing as some things are more spiritual than others.
Yeah, and that's based on a firm idea that there's something about this, whatever this is in this moment, that isn't quite right and isn't, adequate or something. But then I can do something, or something can happen in the future that would make it right, or would make it better, make it something else that would be okay. Okay, all of that is the whole story of the me. And it's complete nonsense. I mean, it's a story. That is the story of the me. But this, whatever is this right now, is completely complete. It's what would be the best, what the me would possibly ever want by doing the right thing in the story is only what is already here right now, always. That's the thing. I mean, it doesn't matter what happens in the story. It doesn't matter whether I get triggered, if the character in the story gets triggered. And the character will get triggered. I mean, all kinds of things will happen in the story. But, and what if I don't get triggered? What if I master myself so I walk around and I don't get triggered? So what? It doesn't, to the me story, that's a big deal. But it isn't a big deal. It's nothing. This is already what it is. And anyway. You've already landed, there's nowhere to go from here. And then the me is always trying to make a story out of all this, a story of getting there.
For me, going to so many workshops and being on a journey for so long, it's still challenging, and probably my biggest noticing would be I have to smile. I conducted a meeting last night and it should look a certain way. Are people going to like me? Of course, that's all the me I understand. But from the time you're 1 year old, you're going to church and slapped if you don't behave and those kind of things. So there's a lot of memory that goes with that. And I'm aware that's all the story, but those are and maybe that's everything for the me, but I find that that's what comes up, that I should be a certain way of noticing and then catching that I'm having that thought. And it's just helpful to re-listen to, for me, to re-listen to the tapes, re-listen to Nkosi, and somehow there's a build-up after a while that it comes quicker, that I notice the thoughts. I notice this thing. Anyway.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the way it goes. And that's perfect.
Do you find it do you find it strange that not looking for something anymore? Like, it's like this here, you know. Nothing is needed. I have no expectations and everything like that. So it's kind of quiet.
I think you'll get used to it, Glenn.
Mhm. It doesn't bother me, but it's strange because before I used to read books and all those things and have some interesting discussion, and it's all vain now.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything. So
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it is strange, and it can be strange for
yeah.
transitioning in a way, for the character.
Yeah, I agree, Guylaine. Tim Kliss has talked also about loss of motivation. And, I've seen it here too. There's just really, this becomes, my only interest is this,
Me too. Oh, yeah. Huh.
Maybe that's why Tony Parsons calls it the perfect lover.
Yeah. It's not disturbing, eh?
Right. Imagine a lover that never disturbed you.
Yeah. Fortunately, there are some human beings that think they are me and they have to perform some essential things, like being a doctor or something.
Yeah, all is an expression of this.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Michael,
Yes,
do
Jim.
you mind if I share my latest me story?
Go for it.
Yesterday, I was walking across an intersection, in a nice wide street, and all the traffic was stopped there. And I'm walking, and I usually, when I'm walking in front of people like that, I get self-conscious and a little bit shame-based or whatever, embarrassed. And for a way that I can't quite describe, I suddenly had this sense that there's no me here. There's no Jim, no self. I thought, wow, that's cool. And then I looked at the people in the cars because I thought I generally don't want to look people in the eye. If I'm walking in front of people, I won't look at them. And I've been on stages for years. I'm in entertainment. So I looked at the people in the cars and I realized in a way that I can't explain that there was nobody there. There were no me's in those cars. It was eerie.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was like, and I kept trying to think, what was it like actually? Because it's difficult sometimes to describe these mystical experiences. But I thought, it's like looking at myself, but there was no self. There were no me's in those cars.
Yeah.
God, it was spooky. And then when I got to the other side, when I hit the curb, I began thinking about it. What was that all about? And then, of course, my me returned, the self returned. But during that moment in the intersection, it was amazing. There was no me there. There were no me's. There was no me here. There was no me in those cars. It was eerie. It was almost like looking in a mirror. So that's my latest story. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, there's already no me's anywhere. Just like there's no, leprechauns or Santa Clauses for real, but it can be believed, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that for some of us, it just became the pain was just too much. So nothing was found here. There can be a giving up, but nobody's giving up, but it's still a giving up. It's like it becomes obvious, or as like Dan said, it's just not knowable. That can somehow resonate.
Not knowable.
So it seems we have a first this evening, Alice. This might be the first meeting we've had where Nkosi didn't show.
Oh, I talked to him yesterday. He said he'd be here.
I know, no, he always says. So something must have come up for him. But I mean, this is why you just never know.
Yeah. I didn't realize it was almost 9. I was still waiting for him.
Hey, he might be missing the time change.
So we talked yesterday, and he's aware of the time change.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Well, let's call him.
Yeah. Any last comments or questions before we close out this evening?
maybe he has a cold because I saw his video and he had a very, he looked a bit ill. Like maybe he's ill.
There goes our memory. And so
Yeah. Yes, exactly, Alice. Very good. Yeah. So see how the mind gets funny. I was talking to Alice just about this. I was telling her how the mind guesses. Like we don't really know, right? Isn't that the truth? We don't know why Nkosi's not here tonight for the first time in 10 months. First meeting he's missed. That's the truth. We don't know. You could leave it at that, and you could do that for everything.
Yeah, the knower doesn't know anything. He's always guessing.
Exactly. Yeah, that has to hit you though. Like you have to realize how your mind is always guessing at, I used something really simple with Alice. Remember, Alice, I said, oh, I got a government official letter, and the first feeling was like negative. Oh God, the IRS, who knows? And you had the opposite. You said, why, right?
right. I worked for the government, so they're going to send me positive things.
Exactly. So there you go. So what I realized was it wasn't until I ripped open the envelope and actually saw the contents that I could know what was in the letter. Everything else previous was conjecture by the mind.
Based often on past stories and experience and so on.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's what we concluded was that all thoughts are past.
Memory. Yeah.
Yeah. Memory, thoughts, past. So they're all synonyms.
Mhm.
Thank you, everyone, for
I was
coming.
just going to say one thing, Michael, before we
Oh, go
wrap
ahead.
up.
Go ahead, Dan.
What we're just noticing about how the mind works. I mean, the mind is amazing, and that's just the way the mind operates, and it works really, really well. It does its job amazingly, but the mind is doing all these things, knowing and holding on to beliefs and speculating, and as its function, that's what it does. But it's underneath that is it's trying to make things right for me. It's trying to get this whole world and this experience to be right, to be fixed. And what we're saying here is that that's all good, and the mind is wonderful in its job, of working within the story to make things better, but it's not going to work because everything is already better. It's already, everything the mind is trying to do is already done. And that's what we're pointing to here every week. And the mind will never see that. The mind will just keep doing its job. It's really good job of making things better within the dream. So, but we're pointing at something else. We're just pointing out that if everything is already, well, perfect is a word, you know, everything is already the way the mind is trying to make things, and the mind will never see it because the mind is a machine that already assumes that things aren't okay. So to look and see, well, actually everything is okay. And it's just so okay that it's more okay than okay, just as it is. Anyway, that's my little sermon.
And thank you, Dan, for the YouTube that you had put out.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, you're going to get plenty of me now. You can handle it.
It's enjoyable. Thank you.
Oh, good. Well, thanks, everyone.
Thank you guys so much for coming. Each and every one of you, so appreciate it. Have a great evening.
You too.
Bye,
Thank you, Michael.
As well. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Right.